obviously.
Yeah, because also if you can see, problems actually started when women were actually taken from their homes. And children were left abandoned or raised by somebody else or raised without love, I would say.
Yeah.
Right? So that's when the societal problems actually started. And also the protection of women were also taken away.
Yeah.
Where men were also taken away from have to like really fight in wars and things like that. And also under apartheid as well.
Yeah.
How the men were also removed from their families to go and work in the mines and
because as soon as you defend your country, when somebody comes to invade you, not go out and invade somebody else. That's not the way.
But also women today, Lila, need to also understand that, and you find this kind of feminism, I would say,
like the feminist. Feminism,
that I can do it by myself. I can do it. I can. Okay. I can do what a man can do.
Yeah, I had such a massive epiphany about that, because I find myself having to do, like, basically to man up in the absence of a man. And then obviously being a traditionalist, so to speak, I had a complex about that. But then I had this epiphany that, you know what, if the future wife of Musa, salam, if she's good enough as a woman, having to man up in the absence of a man, then I'm good enough having to do what I need to do in the absence of a man, to whatever degree. Okay, to whatever degree, because it's like there wasn't strictly a man absent. They had their father as a guide, and he helped them in other ways.
Absolutely.
Like he helped their psychology, which is a big deal. Sometimes men can't help you financially, and that's not their fault. Sometimes they can't help you physically, and maybe they're just not available, or they have to be somewhere else. So we have to sometimes man up in the absence of men, but that doesn't make us less of women. Because we have to do that. Because if it's good enough for the future wife of Musa alayhi salam to have to man up in the absence of men, then it's good enough for the rest of us. However, when someone like Musa alayhi salam comes along, then you must part like the Red Sea and let the man be the man.
Absolutely.
And let him do his thing, because that's what he's there for. Allah sent him for that particular purpose, that reason. Therefore, back off. Don't be a little egotist. Let them open the door. Let them pull up the chair. Let them be men, and just back off and enjoy. And just like, Allah's giving you ease. What are the blessings of your will you deny?
Yeah.
And that day that I had that epiphany, I was trying to open like a jam jar, and my hand was getting red, and I was struggling so badly. And then I realized, but like there's a male neighbor like just 2 houses down. And then he had one of his workers was outside, so I just like handed him the jar, like, Musa, please. And he just clicked it open in 1 second, and then that was it. Then life goes on, it's efficiency. So in Islam, we have this basic rule of, give the job to the one that can do it best.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not gender specific. Whoever can do the job the best, you give the job to that person. So don't be a little egotist and try and do everything by yourself. Because even entrepreneurs will tell you, like Dan Locke, who I follow extensively, he's like, when it comes to business, you shouldn't have a do-it-yourself ego where you're trying to do everything by yourself. You must delegate and delegate to the best person for the best job for the best person.
Yeah, it's
the right job for the right person.
But even if I just come back to the. Thank you, Lila, for that. Bringing that to the discussion. It's so important how we, as men and women, Allah speaks about. There's an equal reward for the male and female, for all those who do good, right? So what I want to say is that also what I've learned also by having attended the discussion was that I didn't know that the Western Cape Religious Leaders Forum was actually a watchdog for government.
Okay.
So what they actually advised, what the discussion actually, or the conversation actually closed, whereby we can actually send a one-pager of what we are all about, and then also if we want to write to government about any complaints or things that we feel government should be doing, focusing more when it comes to society, that the Western Cape Religious Forum will actually endorse that particular request.
Okay.
So that was actually good that we, as a group together, we as people of faith can actually sort of be like the watchdog and keep government on their toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just in a nutshell. what the discussions were all about. Actually, the women who were from other faiths actually were quite amazed when they said to me they must commend me as a Muslim woman. Now really be an advocate for the womb.
Yeah.
Right? And that they appreciated. So I don't know, but I thought it's the most common thing, or I would say the most general thing to do as a woman.
You would think, but in this day and age, there's so much detraction from the womb. Conceptually, the concept of the womb and its significance, I think, is under assault in a variety of ways, because like if you think about how people are trying to redefine gender and therefore undermine the significance of being a woman as a maternal being, as a being of Rahma. So, and I think women, like if it was a Catholic that came up to you and said that, that definitely wouldn't surprise me at all, coming from that background where there's a lot of interesting subtle NLP, which weirdly enough you actually brought my attention to when we did the pathways, like the cathedrals, because you've got the Vesica Pisces, the cosmic womb in the cathedral, in the structures of the cathedral. And it's in like there's a little Vesica Pisces fish, and then there's a lot of these themes, but it's also in, I think we're going to have to do another discussion, exploring that and appreciating that, especially when the Quran refers to the fruits out of season, which is also a theme of Rizq, which is interesting considering that you are now discussing poverty with all these other religious groups. And then we've also been discussing the verse in the Quran where Maryam alayhi salam is found with fruits out of season, which is a very important lesson on rizq, but it's a very personal, individual thing, which, I mean, as you mentioned, it's very difficult for poor people when they're in their reptilian brains to have that faith and to have that connection. And I'll just, it's very, the people use the term solipsist, it's, Islamically speaking, Allah doesn't change a people's outer conditions until they change who they are themselves. So that's very much tying in with Maryam alayhi salam and what she's teaching us in terms of Iman and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the provider ultimately. But Islamically, when we look at the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam along with the Sahaba and his family, they apply the practical principles, because you can't expect everybody on an individual personal level to be open to fruits out of season. You're asking for a lot.
Absolutely.
That's a very personal individual lesson. That's why Islam, in terms of the Sunnah, there's a lot of that communal and practical application of providing for the poor, just to help get them out of the reptilian or that anxiety, so that they can start to relax and then think and increase in the mind and look forward to new things, inshallah.
Yeah. Just to close off, there was a saying by one of the ladies. Sorry, you editing this, no? Oh, what I liked about was which was just the statement she made was the spiritual path with practical feet. I loved that, and that came from the Baha'i faith. So it's practically also very much Islamic. Yeah. Very much practical. So
spiritual and practical.
And also what the priest also said that we need to assist the poor, because the wealthy don't need God, but the poor don't hear God. You see, so that for me was like really amazing lessons that I've learned there that day. And I'm looking forward to further discussions, inshallah, in the future.
Inshallah,
but it's all things that I could relate to, and to think that's why Allah says that the Ummah is one. Right? And I actually, in my opening statement, I opened it with Surah Al-Hujurat, where Allah Ta'ala speaks about that I've created you from male and female. But created you into tribes and nations, that you may know one another, understand one another. So that was basically for me that the appropriate verse with regards to that particular platform. So it pretty much boils down to, like, I mean, you're talking about the Ummah specifically, the Muslim Ummah, but everybody else is related and connected in one way or another. There's always that bridge or common ground, and of course dealing with poverty is part and parcel is that connection.
Because if you think about, if it, like in South Africa, our poverty specifically is connected to apartheid, segregation. Then if you look at the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it's anti-apartheid. It's very much connection, people connecting and finding that common ground and that bridging so that they can have these resolutions, inshallah. Inshallah. Okay.
I actually felt like a bit small also as I was sitting there. Because just the kind of energy that they brought to the discussion. And I felt we need this energy within the Muslim community. So that we are people that...
It's always painful when you see other people demonstrating qualities that...
You see, and I felt so small, and I felt there's so much work to be done within the Muslim community. But then Allah Ta'ala also say, if you're not really following my ways, I will replace you.
Yeah.
Right? So these kind of verses just went through my mind. And not that the Muslim community is not doing anything, you know, but are we really conscious, really? How do we serve with consciousness?
See, the problem is that people are addicted to the status quo. People actually like that everything is like, it's the analogy of the neighbor's mule. My daddy killed the neighbor's mule. Is that because he felt he was sick and tired of being poor? Is that a justification? No, it's just a story about my daddy. But it's actually a story about humanity, in that there are people that, and a lot of people want to be somewhere on the pyramid, and they want to stay there in that position. So they actually want the poor people to stay poor.
Yes.
They want the feeding queues. They want people to stay in the feeding queues, and then they want the privilege. I get to feed the people.
Yeah.
A higher purpose or a higher desire would be to actually like destroy poverty completely and get people out of poverty completely. Not that you get, so that you have a job, so that you have a hobby, or you get to feel good about helping. That's basically communal narcissism. And basically people want to make sure, some people have a very strong sense of, I need to be in this pyramid where there are people above me and people below me, and we need to keep that status quo, because if that gets challenged, then my sense of reality is shattered, and then I'm uncomfortable. That is the reality. And unfortunately, I find that in the community as well. If you give people, if there's like a zakat organization and you give them the opportunity to, for example, implement projects that's literacy-based, adult literacy, that can create jobs and thus change the cycle of poverty, they'll go with the cookout rather.
Yeah.
Just to keep perpetuating the same cycle.
Perhaps I would say, if I can be a bit sarcastic here, but almost like to quiet your conscience. That I am doing something.
I'm doing something, but it's just like we're on a hamster
but we're serving. We actually just how can I say?
It's serving the ego, really.
Yeah, the ego.
Yeah. Because you can have feeding and reading. You can feed people and teach them how to read and teach them to be self-sufficient at the same time. It's not like you have to choose. And there's enough resources for that, but people would rather keep the status quo because it feeds their egos and it makes them feel like special and important, instead of actually having a far greater, more like spiritual compassion of getting people out of poverty and eliminating poverty.
Absolutely.
Okay,
so much.
So we'll end it on that note, and then next time I think we can maybe chat about the what's it called, the flower of life.
Oh yeah.
All that more abstract stuff with the flower of life.